Where'd I just stick my coffee? Right there. Oh, watch out. Watch out. Craziness has entered the building. What really happened? What's really going down? Why did Dad go to jail? Was Patrick in jail? How do you survive jail? All these things we're going to talk about. All these things we're going to talk about. This one's going to be a good one, kids. Going to be a very good one. Hey, everybody showing up. I need to drop a few pics in right now while y'all are all getting here. We're still 2 minutes early. How do you survive the Teller County? Some of these pictures are not actual pictures of the Teller County Jail. They're just examples. I did this quick and I actually couldn't find any pictures of the actual Teller County Jail, but some of these are real. This one's real close. This one right here is about the closest I could find, but literally that's what the cells look like. So that you understand when we're talking about this. I'm going to get rid of this other one because it's really not as good as this one. This one is very, very accurate to what the Teller County jail cells look like. But we'll talk about that in just a little bit. We don't want to get to jail just yet. So, give us a few. You like my whisper? I don't know why I'm whispering. I don't need to whisper. No whispering has to be done here. Oh, we got 82 people here. We might as well just get this party on the road. We got people wanting to listen. They don't want me jack around. They want me to get to some storytelling. I know why y'all are here. Y'all want to know why Daddy went to jail. Absolutely. We're going to get there right now. I'm just getting comfy. I'm going to get settled in here. Make sure I like my camera angles. I know where to look and point. Shake down things, you know. Who's all in the house? We got Donna. We got the Cooters in the house. Jamie's here. We got a wrench. Watch out. Jamie's in the house. Oh, I'm not even in live chat. I'm in top chat. Let's go to live chat. Aaron's in the house. We probably got some really fun people in the house today. I hope we got some Teller County Sheriff's deputies in the house because I'm going to talk about a lot of Teller County Sheriff's deputies. Because and I'm going to talk about some prisoners. I'm going to talk about Patrick for sure. I was as close as this camera is to me, arm's length away. I was this close to Patrick Frazee. Now, he was behind glass, not going to lie. He was behind glass, but arm lengths away. And boy, did he see me. Boy, I would love to see the video footage of what I'm going to talk to you about here in just a second. But we'll get there. All right. Good morning, everybody. So we're over 100 people, so we might as well start. We just got out of jail last night at around 11 midnight, somewhere around 11 o'clock midnight. We walked out of the Teller County Jail in Divide, Colorado. Now, I would love to go into how I got there, but that is still an open case. And for legal reasons, my lawyer has asked me not to speak of that evening. So, with that being said, I will say this. There are circumstances surrounding the situation, and they can charge you with anything they want to charge you with. And so, essentially, they charged me with driving while restricted or driving while restraint, which means I have some sort of restraint on my license, just so you guys understand the charges. No other violations, no traffic violations, no nothing else. That's all I can pretty much tell you. Those are open public charges. You can find those charges. Hell, you can find those charges on publicly out there. I hope you can find my mugshot publicly. I can tell you this, the Woodland Park police officer who arrested me, Mrs. Officer Couch, who arrested me, asked that my mugshot not be released to the public because she didn't want my t-shirts being made. But, we took care of that, and it has been released to the public. And I tried to put on a good smile. But we'll get to that. So, if you're going to ask questions about why did I go to jail, I can't tell you any more than the public charges. I will say hunting was involved. They were hunting something, and they hunted me. So, let's get to the Sally Port, though, because that's where we can start this conversation. Actually, I went to 2 Sally Ports. I went to the Woodland Park jail facility. Most of you guys might not know this, but you may have seen pictures of the Woodland Park police station. And the Woodland Park police station is very deceiving from its facade. Even when you've watched the videos with Dad with the phone getting chased out by a cop and a shirt thrown at him, that facade is very, very deceiving. You might not know this, but underneath the jail, or underneath the Woodland Park Police Department, is a full rifle range, like indoor gun range. And then there's like 4 or 5 jail cells. I knew this because I one time took a homeschool tour there, and they took us into the gun range and showed us around and stuff. It's not like it's a secret gun range, but most people don't know about it, and they don't really talk about it. But they have a really, really, really nice facility for the size of town this is. So I got put into a cell underneath there. And let me tell you something. They keep these mother effing cells cold. I was in basically a long sleeve shirt, some black pants, and so it's a I wasn't in like coat or nothing. They take your shoes and your belt. I don't think I had a hat on. Oh, they're funny. The ladies, by the way, it was the ladies that got me. Fitting that my audience on YouTube, Facebook, all this is probably 98% women, but above the age of 30 and all the way to the age of 75, and 80. I think I have an 80-year-old woman who follows Dad with a phone. But it's funny that the ladies got me. All right, cool. The ladies got me. I'm not answering phone calls right now, kids. Not answering phone calls right now. So they do a quick booking in there, and lots of people calling in support. Thank you guys so much for the support. I can't even explain how much support has prayers, phone calls, lawyers, attorneys, people all over the country reaching out. I guess it backfired. By the way, the only person that would have gotten that notice that quickly was a police officer. So when my notices showed up online that quickly, that would have been a police officer posting those things, which is fitting, which is great. I'm glad those cops are watching. I hope they're watching right now. Let's see here. Where were we? Woodland Park Police Department. I'm in the basement of the Woodland Park Police Department. There's 2 or 3 cells, something like that. 4 cells. I think there's probably 4 cells. Because I've been in one over here, and I've been in one here, and there was another one. So maybe like 3 cells and a closet. And then there's a full range rifle gun range underneath the Woodland Park jail. And let me tell you what, somebody was in the rifle range when I was in the cell. So I was pretty happy they put me in the cell on the other end, because I heard, I was like, holy shit, you could get shot down here and they could just say it was a training accident. But nevertheless, we're at the Woodland Park jail. How to survive Woodland Park jail? Be polite, don't say anything, and plead the fifth. How about that one? Don't sign anything. Don't sign a damn thing. When they bring you something to sign, say, my lawyer tells me not to sign anything. They're gonna pressure you. They're gonna say whatever they want to say, but you can say, I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I remain silent. You have given me the right to remain silent. I'm not going to sign anything. And that's your right. And that cannot be used against you. The refusal of signing is pleading the fifth is you do not, that can't be used against you in court, except it can be used against you in the DMV hearing. But we'll get to that. Oh, that's awesome. You can they can use the constitutional right of you being silent and not saying anything. They can use that against you in the DMV hearing here in the state of Colorado, which is crazy. Anyway, how to survive jail. Keep quiet. Don't say anything to Woodland Park Police Department ever. Tell your children not to talk to them. Tell your adults, the grandkids, don't talk to them. Don't ever talk to the cops. The most expensive lawyer you can hire will tell you not to talk to the cops. The cheapest lawyer you can hire will tell you not to talk to the cops. The public defender will tell you not to talk to the cops. So, how to survive Woodland Park Police Department? Shut up. All right. Now, they don't keep you in Woodland Park, though. They're not equipped. They're not qualified, nor would I want to stay there. They take you to none other than the Teller County Jail. You may or may not know this. I've been to the last time I was at the Teller County Jail, I saw Patrick Frazee all night long. He was in holding cell number 1 with a couple of chomos. We'll get to the chomos. Chomos are child molesters, segregated, right? So he was in holding cell number 1. So when we pulled into the Sally Port of the Teller County Jail, the guy's even booking me in, but I was fully expecting Patrick to be in one of these holding cells in segregation. I was fully expecting him to be right here. This is where I saw him last. This is where I spent the night with Patrick. You can actually get one of those t-shirts. I spent the night with Patrick Frazee at the Shopify website on the YouTube right now. But if you want to wait, you're going to get part 2 of that shirt too, because I actually spent the night again with Patrick Frazee. So when we got to the Sally Port, I was fully expecting that I would see Patrick Frazee again. Now, I can tell you this right now. I did not get arrested on purpose. I did not want to be arrested. I asked the officer not to arrest me. I pleaded with the officer not to arrest me. None of that worked. So I got arrested. Am I ashamed of getting arrested? To everyone out there, absolutely not. Have I done perfect my whole life? Absolutely not. I tell people I would beg, borrow, and steal to feed my children. And I did none of those things to get arrested, just so you know. I did none of those things. I did not want to get arrested. Hear me out. No one in their right mind wants to get arrested and put in a concrete box. Trust me, no one. Now, I'm going to go spend another night in jail on June 13th. I want to spend the night in jail on June 13th, but I want to do it at the old Teller County Jail, not the new one. We talk about that later. So now I am fully expecting, I'm arrested, I'm going to jail. There's nothing I can do about it. I have to submit to the laws of the land, handcuff me, take me to jail, put me in jail. There's nothing I can do. At this point, the only thing I can do is control the situation from here on out. I get to control what I take in, the story I want to tell, the things I want to see, the things I want to hear. I get to control this now. I can look at this situation as they're putting me in a box, or damn, the stories I will tell. Most of the time, I look at the situations in my life as the stories they will tell. And so I want you to understand that when I'm going into the Sally Port at the Teller County Jail, I'm not thinking about my life being ruined. I'm not in a pity party anymore. Like when I went to the Woodland Park Jail, I had about 2 seconds of a pity party. I was like, damn, got myself arrested. What the fuck do? In my mind, right? All of a sudden you take those captives. You take captive those thoughts and you say, oh, wait a minute. Look around, Michael. What can we see? What can we learn? What can we observe? What is the story that will be told? So this is the mindset I'm going into jail with. I've had 45 minutes at Woodland Park to do. You know what I love about having a wife that is super hot yoga chick? I love that even though I don't do yoga at the house, when you go to jail, they give you a freaking mat and a blanket and put you in a room, and you're like, what can I do in this room? Oh shit, I can do yoga. Now, I don't do freaking downward dog or hump the bird or monkey pose or whatever they got. I simply start to breathe. When you start breathing, you can take control of your life quickly. And so when I'm going into this Teller County Jail, I want you guys to understand that I'm in full story mode now. I want to observe everything. I want to be observed. I want to be observed because I want them to pay attention and I want to interact. I want to exchange information. And so from the very start, from the time I walked into the Sally Port and they made me put my hands on the wall, I was still fully dressed and they were going to search me, even though Woodland Park had searched me, even though I was coming out of a police car. This is standard procedure. You're going to get searched. They uncuff you. You're uncuffed. You're now in a holding cell that you can't go anywhere, and there's multiple guards in there, and they're going to search you before they let you do anything. The very first question out of my mouth, let it be on the record, was, who's in holding cell number 1? Who's in holding cell number 1? These cops know exactly who I am. It would become very established over the next day and a half. I went into jail on Sunday afternoon and I got out on Monday night at 11. So next day and a half, it would be established in my mind. Every one of these guards knows exactly who I am. So when I asked who's in holding cell number 1, the answer became nobody of any significance, Michael. Oh, thanks. Cool. How about 1, 2, and 3? Well, we got this one guy up in 3. He's been there for 14 days. Mind you, listen. I'm getting frisked. I'm still in my clothes. And I know that Patrick Frazee is no longer in the holding cells, but whoever is in holding cell number 14, that's our holding cell number 3. That's an interesting character. I don't know who he is yet, but I'm going to find out. So this is all happening within seconds of me getting into the Sally Port. Then I sit down. The brand new benches, by the way. Mad look. I wish I could take a picture, boys. I know you're watching. Mad ass bench. They got LED lights and shit up underneath their handcuff benches. Mad benches. Mad props to whoever built those benches for the Teller County Jail. They're new benches, both here and in the jail. Mad props. Dad with the phone took notice. My eyes were open, kids. But I don't even know what you're thinking. Okay, I'm in the holding cell. Now, very important. Who's booking? I want to know who's booking. All of a sudden I realize, oh hell, we're in the middle of shift change. There's people coming and going. We're in shift change. I don't know who's booking. Even the police officer, she uncuffed me before she was leaving. A couple of things. One, I want to thank Woodland Park Police Department for not charging up my credit cards. Thanks for getting those credit cards to my wife and not making any purchases on Amazon. I did check, by the way. I also want to thank them for delivering. Oh, funny story, by the way. I found this on camera. Woodland Park police officer, I don't know his name. It was a male. He comes hauling ass into my driveway. right? He's pissed that he has to deliver this envelope with Mrs. Underground's information in it. And he brings that envelope to my wife, but there was a kid walking by. There was a kid walking by my house when all this went down. And when he pulled in, right as he got out the car, the kid goes, "What the hell? Do you live here?" All of a sudden, this guy gives the envelope to my wife and then turns around and starts bitching at this kid. "Why the hell are you asking if I live here? What is it to you? Don't you worry about the business I'm on." My wife tells the whole story better than I do. He gets in his car and peels out. The whole thing is on camera, by the way. Anyway, that's nevertheless. Where were we going with this? So thank you to Officer Couch for getting that information to my wife, even though you didn't take it to her. Somebody else did. So she's walking out of the holding cell. Officer Couch is walking out. I'm already in observation mode. I've already had the conversation with the pat-down officer. Who's here? What's going on? Who's in holding cells? They've already given me this information. By the way, I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing. It might be a training exercise for you sheriff's officers. You don't need to give information to me. You know who I am, but you don't need to give information to anyone. We would talk about information being given out later here in just a little bit. Again, this is how to survive the Teller County Jail with Patrick Frazee. So this is just Dad's survival guide, right? You have to understand how I'm surviving what's about to take place in my own life. And so I'm in story mode. I want to know every detail down to the color of the benches and the LED lights, you know? So she's leaving. She kind of stops. She turns. She stutters a few words to me. This is the officer who arrested me, the Woodland Park officer who's dropping me off in the sheriff's department. She's leaving, and she kind of stutters through some words, and I let her leave without incident. Remember, silence is golden sometimes. The Fifth Amendment, plead the fifth, plead the fifth, plead the fifth. So now we're sitting in the holding cell, still dressed. And you can sit in this holding cell for an hour, or you can sit in here for 5 hours. You need to be prepared. When you go through the Sally Port and they put you into that initial holding cell, when you got your full clothes on, this could be 1 hour, or this could be 10 hours. They don't have to book you in. You're in holding. You're in this limbo. I don't know the legal law. I know they can't hold you in there for days. But I don't know the legal law, but they can hold a couple hours, 5 hours ain't nothing in a holding cell, okay? So understand that until you're booked in, you cannot bond out. So until they've run me through the paperwork system, I can't bond out. Now, something I need to mention. When I was at the Woodland Park Police Department, they allowed me to leave a message on my wife's phone because my wife needed to pick up the car. She needed to get these licenses and anything else I wanted to say. They gave me the phone call. Ask for a phone call. Most of the time, they'll give you a phone call. Always ask for a phone call and then keep silent. And and then ask for that phone call. Get that phone call before they ask anything from you so that you can keep silent, right? But still get your phone call. So get a verbal from them. Yeah, I'm going to give you a phone call. If you can get them to verbally say, yeah, I'm going to give you a phone call. This is a good survival guide to jail. And so get that phone call. And now, my wife already knew I was headed to jail because when the stop happened, I had made the phone call, right? I'm going to jail. I sent the text. So she knew something was going down. Now I'm calling her, but she didn't answer. And so I leave a message and I tell her very direct, quick instructions because I can't do anything. My hands are now in handcuffs and literally handcuffed, and I can't do anything else. And I know it could be hours before I could make a phone call again. So I gave her some specific, logical, directive things. My wife is brilliant. She went above and beyond all of those things. And so I get to... I don't know why we got to because I'd made a phone call. They can't give you bail. We're back in the holding cell. Teller County Jail. Still dressed out. They're not going to give you a bond. You're not going to be able to bond out until they get you through the booking process. This can take hours, people. Hours. Sit back. Pretend like you're drinking coffee. and observe. The best way to survive jail, the number one thing I could tell you to survive jail is to keep quiet. Now, who talks a freaking lot? I do. So every word that comes out of my mouth, every word in jail, I've already played it through a mental note. Because anything that happens behind those walls will, and most likely will be used against you in a court of law. Do you understand? So every word that comes out of your mouth needs to be calculated. And my ass talks a lot. And when I'm online, I don't calculate none of this. This is coming from my memory. I'm accessing files. I'm writing my book. Someday I'm going to look back on this story and go, shit, I forgot about that. Sure, I'm glad I told that story. Sure, I'm glad I made that YouTube video. So when I'm in jail, every word is calculated. Every question I ask, everything that happens, everything that I do. So, first off, I knew I could be in that holding cell for 5 hours. I want some water. Ask for water. Can I get a cup of water? Can I get a pitcher of water? Teller County Jail. Let me tell you, I have said this about Patrick. Patrick is in the Holiday Inn of jails. It ain't the Hilton. It ain't the 5-star Broadmoor, but it's the Holiday Inn Express, and it's consistent, you know. And if you've gotten a cup of water there once, you probably could get a cup of water a second time. I knew it could be hours before the next meal, next thing, next everything. So, cup of water. Give me a glass of water. So I get a glass of water. Can I use that restroom? There's a restroom. This is the last porcelain, second last. This is the second last porcelain toilet you're going to see for a while if you go behind bars. So there's a porcelain toilet. Golly, porcelain feels better on your butt than metal, cold metal. I'm just saying, whatever. It could be a plastic. It's probably not porcelain. It's a normal looking toilet. Let me put it that way. I can't tell you if it's porcelain, plastic, some polyurethane, but it's a white ass toilet that looks like it's in my house, right? In this little room, this holding cell. It's not a metal one. I'd much rather use that one than the one I know is in the room next to me, right? In the other holding cells. And so use the restroom in that holding cell. This is Teller County Jail Survival with Dad. Use the restroom in the holding cell right outside the Sally Port. It has a real toilet. They're booking people in, and now I go into observation mode. Who's working? What are they doing? What's their attitude? Are they pissed off? Are they mad to be at work? Remember I told you it was shift change. So now all the officers are in this booking area. They're changing the guard. The guard is changing. I'm like, dang, this could go good for me because now the person coming on shift is going to be new. They're going to be fresh. That means they're going to be happier. They're not going to be, I'm not going to get booked in by someone who's been on a 12, 18-hour shift. Oh, a mental note. When I came in, the guy who frisked me, it was either the guy who frisked me or the guy who opened the door. It could have been one of those other officers. But it was he was on duty at the time because he goes, how's the weather outside? Is it still nice? And I said, you've been in this box a little long, haven't you? He said, 18 hours. He'd been on shift for 18. I don't even know how that's legal, by the way. Those are the words out of a Teller County Sheriff's officer's mouth to me in the holding cell just a few days ago. When he asked me, how's the weather out? Is it still nice? And I said, it's beautiful. You've been in this box a little long. And he'd been there for 18 hours working. So you have to understand, if you catch that guy at the end of an 18-hour shift and you're getting booked in, oh, damn, this could go bad. This is not good. So you need to observe the officers, especially if you don't know them. Fortunately enough, I know most of the Teller County officers or have at least had contact with them in some way, shape, or form, whether it be at a courtroom when I'm following Patrick Frazee case, whether it be in jail, whether it be around town at a parade, at a 4th of July celebration. Again, I know everybody from the homeless people. I've only been in the Teller County Jail twice in my entire life up until this point. Only twice in my entire life have I been there. One of those times I haven't really talked about yet, but I have talked about it in the past. You have to go find that video. I think it's called 10 Days in the Teller County Jail. This one is called How to Survive. So when you know the officers, I'm making these observations right now, right? I'm looking at this. Who's this officer? Who's that officer? Is so-and-so here? I see a couple of officers I recognize that I know at that point, I'm already 95% sure every one of these officers knows Dad with the phone, Michael Dalton, the Woodland Park Underground, is in the Teller County Jail. We got him again. At this point, in my opinion, because of what would happen over the next couple of days, key things that were said to me that confirmed when I walked into that jail, everyone knew it. I kind of like that. I really do. Because everyone knows also that I'm just a dad with a phone. I'm not some hardened criminal. I know that I'm not being charged with murder. I know that they didn't get me for drug trafficking. They didn't get me for DUI. They didn't get me for this. They didn't get me for that. So in my mind, they're looking at me like, oh, that's the internet guy, right? And this would become true later. So then you get strip search, balls and all. That's the easiest way to put it. I'll keep it kosher for the children watching. I don't really have a lot of children that watch, but just in case. You get strip search, balls and all, okay? Then you get put in that really nice jumpsuit, and this is all within the holding cell. I haven't even darted the doors yet. Shift change happens, but what I realized is these dudes don't have a life. I realized in shift change that these guys don't really have a life. They are in prison 18 hours a day, 12 hours a day. And then it's funny what happens, because during my transfer, so what happened? They dress you out, and then they're going to put you into a holding cell. That doesn't mean they're going to book you right then and do your fingerprints and all that information. It just means they were taking me out of that holding cell. Now, it turns out they put me into a visitation room. I wasn't even in a cell when I went from the holding cell to the visitation, because visitation happens right by booking. It happens across from the holding cells. Now, what I like about this is the visitation can see, the clock, because normally the holding cells, they don't like you to see the clock. And so they put the clock where you can't see it from any cell. And so they don't mind giving you the time. You can ask them, what time is it? Now, don't ask every 15 minutes. Don't do that. Ask every 4 hours what time it is. You don't need to know the time. It doesn't matter the time. Because when you're in there, time is irrelevant. It really is irrelevant, because they don't move at any speed or pace that is going to be happy to you, unless you know this going in. If you know that you could sit in these holding cells from 1 hour to 5 hours, and then when they move you to another cell, that could be another 5, that could be a day, that could be 2 days. You have to understand, part of this is a broke system. It's a crowded system. It's an overworked system. The guards themselves are prisoners to wands. I've talked about the wand before, but this is a principle I can talk about right now. Every 45 minutes, I think, every hour, 45 minutes, the guards have to walk by every cell in the entire facility. Now, they do what they call a count. They don't really count. They go through and they touch a wand to a metal plate on a wall. Then they walk to the other side of the cell and they touch it. Do you understand what's happening? They are not even competent enough to do proper counts, that there are systems in place that keep these guards prisoner to the wand. I got to go touch the wall. I got to go touch the wall. I got to walk upstairs. I got to touch the wall. I got to walk down the aisle, touch the wall. Boom, I'm done with my job right now. 45 minutes, I can come back. So when they put you in a holding cell and then they go into lockdown or count, at this time, you have to understand what's happening. They are counting the facility per se. They're touching their wands. They're playing prisoner to their wand, okay? This is the mindset. This is what happens. This is the observation of what I'm seeing, okay? I'm now put in a visitor cell. I get to see all the holding cells. To my right, in the holding cell that Patrick was in last time, I noticed when I walked in, there was a handwritten dry erase marker on the windows. So they're like telling you what's happening in that cell. You had 3 people, I think, or 2 people that were on some sort of segregation, medical segregation for a head injury, medical segregation for something, medical, right? These are people that are high medical risk at a facility like Teller County Jail. This can be, what I saw in that cell were 2 elderly women. So there were 2 elderly women in a box. Right next to them, that's a big box. Right next to them, holding cell number 2. That's holding cell number 1. Holding cell number 2 was the guy. The guy that had been there for 14 days. There was a date and it said AGSAG. Now what this means is this dude is violent. This isn't separated for good behavior. This isn't separated because he's a child molester. This isn't separated because of anything other than this dude is violent. Now, he had a broke arm with pins out of it that he got in Teller County. He had a tattoo of an upside-down cross on his forehead and then tattoos from about here all the way down. Your earlobe, everything tattooed. I recognized very quickly this guy was a lifetime inmate. Now, he may not be on a life sentence. He may not have a life sentence, but he was a lifetime inmate to the institution. He had been in more jails than you and I could count combined together, kind of thing. He was a lifelong institutional person. I like to observe this because I observed something that was happening in even the prison. Even the guards were enamored with this guy. This was another time when a guard did something very foolish and very stupid and very untrained. Now, before I say this, I want you to understand what I know about jails. At one point, most of you guys know, my dad has 49 years of law enforcement. At one time, my dad was in charge of the entire detention center with thousands of inmates in Fort Worth, Texas, the Tarrant County Jail. There are thousands of inmates in that jail. My dad was over that facility. And so I'm not an expert when it comes to jails. I know someone who is, right? I know someone who is. And so, and they're blood related to me, and I have conversations with them all the time. By the way, my dad knew I was in jail immediately. First phone call I made was to my wife, and one of those things on that message that I sent her was, call my parents. And so when people think, oh, your parents must be ashamed of you. Oh, that's, if you knew the things my dad said to my wife during this time, it was beautiful. I love it. And so anyway, back to this officer talking, what I'm observing happening, talking to this inmate who I have deemed a lifelong institutionalized convict. He's in ADSAG. He's got a broke arm with pins out of it. How do I know he had pins? Because we had a conversation. This guy would yell and scream, which you normally don't get away with, but I realized that yelling and screaming was the best thing this guy has done. In other words, every officer that came by, they would say, hey, man, you going to keep it together today? Hey, man, you going to keep it? What's going on? You going to keep it together? They came by and observed him like a tiger in a cage is the best way I can put it. They didn't go into that cage. They didn't open that door to that cage. They didn't do nothing. This guy is directly across from me now, and I'm in a visitor center. I've already deemed Patrick's not in this holding area. I'm in a visitor room. I'm not in a cell. And my door had a regular doorknob on it, okay? It was a locked door, but it was a regular doorknob. It wasn't like a metal big-ass door. They threw a mat down, threw a blanket down. Again, could be an hour, could be 5 hours. I don't know how long I'm going to be in this holding cell. So I'm observing the things around me. Shift change is happening. Shift change is taking place, right? It has taken place when I was in the other holding cell. A lot of the officers have left, but this is where I have figured out that some officers don't have a life outside of their job. They are literally in county jail more than I've ever been in county jail, more than you've ever been in county jail, and they've been held to the restrictions of the county jail and the wand, right? The wand. And so some of these officers stick around. They're like, yeah, sit there and bullshit and shoot the shit with their comrades. This one particular officer that stuck around, he's like I like to call him the bulldog. All right, this is where we're going to start naming officers, but I'm not going to name them. But every officer that's watching, every Teller County Sheriff's deputy that's watching, every Woodland Park deputy, they're going to know exactly who I'm talking about. The shortest little bulldog you can find at the Teller County Jail wears a ball cap. He's a white boy, and I think his last name starts with an M. I know all their names. I've put it to memory. I wrote it down on paper. I've got all their names for the book. But for the YouTube video, we'll call him Bulldog. I like to call him Bulldog because I've known this officer for quite a while. I've talked with this officer. We had a whole conversation up here. I was filming one of the parades, and he was doing traffic. And we had a whole conversation about the drone I was flying and stuff. So Bulldog, he is now off for 5 days. So he's about to go off duty. Or he's already gone off duty. He's got his coat on, his hat on. He's holding his coffee cup and stuff. And all of a sudden, I'm in this visitor thing. All of a sudden, something goes down at the pods. And officers come running this way. They pepper ball up. And when I say they pepper ball, I had never seen the pepper ball guns in Teller County. So I had to figure this out. I would find out later about the pepper ball guns. I had never seen the pepper ball guns in the jail before. Never seen them used, never seen them drawn, nothing. But then all of a sudden a female officer walks by and says, well, started my shift with a pepper ball. I'm going to have to pepper ball somebody in the chest. And I was thinking about the hashtag feeling cute. I'm going to have to pepper ball someone in the chest. That's what went through my mind because that was the attitude in which this Teller County officer walked by my cell and said, man, I just started my shift and I'm going to get to pepper ball someone in the chest. So it was funny. It was cute, right? Feeling cute. Going to pepper ball someone today. I had to find out about these pepper balls. So mental note on the pepper ball guns, because I hadn't seen these in the jail before. How to survive the Teller County Jail with Patrick Frazee. Remember, I'm not seeing Patrick, by the way. I don't see Patrick in the holding cells. I don't see him anywhere. I'm like, what the hell? All right, so pepper ball incident goes down. Turns out they don't pepper ball anybody. She doesn't get to use her pepper ball. I would find this out later. No pepper balling went down. No, she wasn't feeling cute enough. So now it's booking time for me. All right, Mr. Dalton, we're going to book you. That means they're going to go take all this information from you. They're going to do all this stuff. But before I had moved from the visitor center, I was starting to tell this story, and I forgot to tell you. The ADSAG guy and the officer, all these officers were enamored with him. They would come over and they would say, how you doing today? You feeling okay? Now, this guy had a broke arm, so medical requires that every hour, on the hour, or before the hour, someone makes contact with him because he's on medicine. He's got a broke arm. He had obviously been in some kind of scrap inside the facility because I asked him, did you get that in here? He said yes. So they had to treat him, take him to the hospital. He did the pin things, all of that, okay? So there was an officer that would come over and ask him how he's doing. This older officer, a newer officer that I didn't recognize. And he asked him about other facilities, institutions he had been in. And this guy talks to him about Sterling. And this officer says, oh yeah, I worked at Sterling for 8 years, da-da-da-da-da. And they had a whole conversation about this. What I want to tell that officer is, if you were to open that door, that guy would have cut your throat no matter how nice he's being right now and the information he's gathering from you. If he ever ends up in Sterling, around Sterling, looking for you, if you twist him wrong and he wants to bring something back, all the information you're telling him could be used against you in a sense that psychopath could come after you. Okay? And I recognize this. I recognize this guy listening to every word this officer was saying. I watched the conversation between them, the body language that was happening. And I realized that dude knows everything about just about every officer because he's been sitting there for 14 days watching, observing. Now, he may be a psychopath. He may be a crazy. He may be a murderer. But I can tell you what, he's listening and watching. When you become institutionalized this, all of that information becomes brain stimulation that you want to retain. And he's listening to everything. Teller County officers, you should share very, very, very little personal information with inmates. Not all of them are as nice as Dad with a phone. So I observed that happening while I was in that visitor center. So now I'm walking out. They're about to book me in. Now, guess who I'm being booked in by? I'm being booked in by none other than Pepperball Girl. You know, feeling cute. Let's go Pepperball someone. She didn't say that just yet. She didn't say that just yet. I would get her to say that before the end of my booking. God, if I had... At one point, she let me turn on my cell phone to get phone numbers during booking so I could write down some phone numbers. She let me turn it on and she said, you better not take a picture. And I said, I'm pretty quick. And she said, don't do it. So I got my cell phone out. I got my number. She starts booking me in. And this is where I start asking questions. Hey, when did y'all get Pepperball guns? She's like, I just got certified last week. Oh, you're new with that thing, are you? I didn't tell her that. But in my mind, this is what I'm thinking. Again, this is information mode. I know what's about to take place. They're about to take a bunch of personal information from me that I'm willing to give them, and they're going to ask me a bunch of questions, and I'm going to tell them, and we're going to get through this process. Then they're going to fingerprint me. Then they're going to take my picture. At some point in this conversation, this is when I find out that Woodland Park police officer Couch, and this was weird because when Woodland Park normally books you in, again, observation is key in all of these situations. Normally, when Woodland Park officers bring you in from the Sally Port, they uncuff you. An officer comes out into that little holding area, goes through your list of stuff. Then the Woodland Park officer leaves, gets in their car, and drives away. But Officer Couch did something that was strange. It was different. It was something I hadn't seen before. So I took note for a later time in my stay. Officer Couch came into the Sallyport, and then she left the Sallyport and went into the booking area and talked with the booking officer on duty. I don't know what happened in that conversation altogether, but I can tell you what also took place in that conversation, because the actual booking officer, the Pepperball girl, which was not the girl Officer Couch spoke with, Officer Couch spoke with double black eyes. It was an officer with double black eyes, but we'll get to him later. He was on shift change, remember? He's the booking officer who's leaving after a shift. So Officer Couch spoke with that booking officer. I don't know what was said, but I do know a portion of that conversation. And a portion of that conversation was, we do not want Mr. Dalton's mugshot released to the public. I did not request this. Oh, God, that was brilliant. Takes me back to my mugshot shirt. If you want a mugshot shirt, one of the best mugshot shirts you could ever get is on my website, Shopify website right there. So Officer Couch asked the booking agent to not release my booking mugshot to the public. I found this out because Pepperball Girl, she's Pepperball. We got Bulldog. the old man who was talking to, I'm just going to call him the old man guard that was talking to the I'm not going to talk about him much, but he's the old man guard. He was on shift change. All that was happening. The booking officer tells me, well, it looks like the arresting officer requested that your mugshot not be released to the public. I know you're pretty well known, and this is what the booking officer says to me. I know you're pretty well known. Mental note, she knows exactly who I am. She goes, I know you're pretty well known, and so maybe I guess you asked her not to release your mugshot. And I said, I did no such thing. Please release that to the public. Please, please, please release my mugshot to the public. I said, how can she ask for my mugshot not to be released to the public? That's public information. She says, well, they can request that. Most of the time they request it at the request of the person being arrested. I said, that is not my request. Can you please allow my mugshot to be released to the public? That booking officer says, I will make note. Yes, absolutely. All your information can be released to the public. I don't know if they release my mugshot. Somebody could go see if they released a new mugshot of me. I had a big ass smile on, but we would get to the mugshot later. I would tell this woman straight up why I wanted the mugshot picture released. I said the last one, I put my face on a t-shirt and people bought it. And I paid my lawyer fees with that, a portion of my lawyer fees. And she said, nuh-uh. I said, yeah, absolutely. If I'm going to be arrested, if I'm going to be detained, thrown in a box, handcuffed, it is in my best interest to make more money than everyone in this room combined. And if I can do that through a t-shirt with my face on it, by God, I'm going to do that. And so the irony is hilarious that Officer Couch would ask the booking agencies not to release my mugshot to the public. I don't know if it's been released yet, but I will get a hold of it. I will, promise you. So I'm getting booked in. Let's see. They ask a couple other questions, ask a couple other, medical questions, allergic questions, stuff like that. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I gained from Pepperball. I call her Pepperball because if I have to Pepperball someone in the chest, I just got here. That's going to make my day. Feeling cute. What else we got? So she goes, they use an electronic fingerprint system in Teller County. Electronic. No more black ink on your fingers that stains for days. It's an electronic thing that you have to put like water on, and then you put your fingers on it and you do this like they do a system. I have done this 3 times now. This would have been my 3rd time to have my fingerprints taken in the Teller County Jail. I'm not an expert, but by God, 3 times, I mean, it was a charm because 99% of the time when they're doing their fingerprints, there's an error code. At some point, the error code comes out. But guess who? Guess who had clean fingerprints? Now, interesting. Psychopath? He's not really a psychopath. He's just been institutionalized. He's been in a box his whole life. That's what you got to understand about the guy in holding cell number 2. He's been in a box, or holding cell number 3. He was in 3. So there's 1, 2, 3. He was in 3, I think. Details. It's not in my book. There's 4 holding cells. Psychopath guy, he's yelling out the window, they're going to plant those on a crime scene. And I was like, I hope not. Don't let them get your DNA. They're going to plant that at a crime scene. Now listen, if you commit a felony in the state of Colorado, they take your DNA. Just so you know. I don't think you can refuse that shit either. They're going to take your DNA. So give it to them nicely, or they will strap your ass in a chair and take it from you. But they didn't take my DNA. But I took note. Again, this guy's watching everything. He knows everything that's happening in booking right now. He's just there observing. And he yells out, don't let them plant your fingerprints at a crime scene. I get through the fingerprint thing so clean that one of the other officers is like, did you just not get any errors? And she was like, man, I've only had that happen twice since I've been here. Pepperball says, I've only had that happen twice, that you got through the fingerprints without an error. And I was like, yeah, I got clean fingerprints. I ain't worried about that. I don't sand them off or nothing. I got baby hands. So fingerprints are done. Now comes mugshot. Now we go back to the mugshot conversation with her. I was like, let me know when you're going to take this picture because I want to smile. Now, interesting enough, they use dual cameras, the exact same web cameras I have. These exact same web cameras are the exact same cameras they're taking because I just know the logo. I sat there and looked at the camera. I was like, holy shit, those are the same camera. Observation, folks. I'm in observation mode. I'm sucking in everything that my senses will allow me because you know what? No one else is going behind bars. No one else is going back there and telling this story. But what's happening is we got a zoo. We have a human slave trade going on. They're taking pictures of me and putting me in boxes. And they're getting paid to do this. I'm hoping I'm making more money on my t-shirt sales than they're making. But nonetheless, they're getting paid to ship people, take pictures, categorize, number them, and then stick them in a cell. This is the system. Now, sometimes it's dad. Sometimes it's psycho. Right? Sometimes it's dad and sometimes it's psycho. But guess who gets the same rules? Whether you're a dad or you're a psycho, you get the same rules. It's the same institution. It's the same jumpsuit. It's the same guards. Just so you understand where I'm at. The observation of the mugshot. I smiled through both my mugshots, and this is when I break it to her. You know why I think that the officer didn't want you to have or release my mugshot? Is because I'm going to put it on a t-shirt. You know what that girl says? I'd buy one of those t-shirts. Right there to me. Pepperball. She's hooked. She's hooked on dad with a phone. She's booking dad with a phone in and she's saying, I'd buy one of those t-shirts. There you go. All right, Pepperball books me in. I'm probably yelling. Am I over blowing y'all out? Am I blowing y'all out on there? Anyway, I could go read questions, but if I start reading questions, it's going to get way too crazy. We're an hour in, and shit, I'm not even booked in. Trust me, this whole process actually took maybe 4 hours, 3 hours. So I've been at the facility now. In the hour that I've been telling this story, I've actually been there 3 hours. I get booked in, and this is when they move me from visitor cell to holding cell number 4. The same holding cell that I was put in the night that I spent across from Patrick Frazee. He was in holding cell number 1. I had a direct diagonal look at him. And so now I'm in holding cell. So now I'm in familiar. This is familiar to me. I know holding cell number 4. I've been here. I spent a few hours. I spent 12 hours in this holding cell. I can do 12 hours in here. This is a quiet place. If you want to be stimulated, you can be stimulated. In other words, if you want to watch what's happening, there's always something going on in booking. Always. Sunday night, people coming in, people leaving. Monday morning, people going to court, people coming back. Interesting enough, a gentleman who went to court, and then he actually got released that day. I don't know his full name, but I do know his nickname, and his nickname was the Tank. And this is another institutionalized guy, but not psycho-institutionalized. As a matter of fact, a few years ago, I spent a few days as a roommate or a cellmate with Tank in the same jail. He had been there for 2 years, give or take. And Tank was being released. All the charges that had kept him there he didn't have a bond. He was on trial in Teller County. He had been held in Teller County jail for over 2 years. He finally goes to trial and they drop all charges. They took 2 years of a man's life to then dismiss all the charges. Now, when Tank was being released, he was happy. He was smiling. They had taken his cigarettes 2 years ago, and that same pack of cigarettes was still sitting in his property, and he was smiling. He had just had all the charges dropped against him. Later, I would find out that the last 6 months, Tank had hired a private lawyer from outside the facility, and he's about to sue Teller County. I found this out from an inmate, and inmates talk about suing the cops a lot. Inmates do it all the time. I'm going to sue you. I'm going to sue you. But Teller County has already lost lawsuits for false imprisonment of people. And guess what? I hope Tank sues him, and I hope he wins. Not because Tank's a good guy. If you look up Tank's rap sheet, Tank is a violent dude, but he's a teddy bear at the same time. He's not the psycho, but I could tell you right now that dude would put a baseball bat through your jaw faster than he would not if you got on the wrong side of Tank, right? But Tank was being released. Whether or not he was guilty or innocent, the system had wronged him by holding him falsely without bond for multiple years and then to just drop the charges. That happened right here in Teller County. You have to understand why they do that and why they can do it to someone like Tank. Because Tank is a for all intents and purposes, has been in trouble in and out of the law. I know this because I've had personal conversations with Tank. I spent time in the same cell. Tank used to give me coffee every morning. When I go into jail, I don't want $1 put on my books. I'm not going to eat their food. That was another thing that started on the night before. I decided, you know what, I'm going to fast through my time in jail. One, the food isn't that good. Two, I don't think I'm going to be here long. And three, my body needs a cleanse anyway, so let's take this time to cleanse my body. So Tank used to give me coffee, but Tank was being released. And you know what? There was this thing that resonated because when you're in jail, especially when you're in jail and you've been hunted and you get thrown in a box and you're like, damn, they may keep me here. Anything could happen to me inside these four walls and no one's going to know about it until they let me out. How long can they keep me here? How long? What can they do? I know they can keep me here for a while. I know they don't have to let me see a judge right away. I know all these things are possible. So when those thoughts start, this is survival guide, remember? I got to give you a survival tip. So when those thoughts, if you ever get put in jail, any jail, Teller County jail, when those thoughts start creeping up in your mind, just remember Tank. It's only going to last for so long. That's something Tank used to say. It's only going to last for so long. I remember him telling me, I was like, man, he would tell himself, it's only going to last for so long. And when Tank walked out of there, I was taken back to 2 years ago when we were drinking coffee one morning in the cell and we were talking about something. And Tank said to me, it's only going to last for so long. And today was that so long for Tank. It just happened to be the day that Dad got put in a cell across from and was observing because I could have slept through that release. But I didn't. And so in your own life, in your own prisons, in your own little boxes that you put yourself in, you can tell yourself, it's only going to last for so long. And then, what's next? So, Tank is getting released. A couple of other inmates come through. One inmate comes through and yells at me, Michael, what'd they get you for? And this inmate is in an orange jumpsuit. Not a green one, an orange one. And orange is trustee. That means they have special privileges. That means they get special things. This happened at mealtime. So they were bringing me a meal, and I refused my meal. I'm going to go through this intermittent fasting. I'm going to go through this fasting time while I'm in jail. And we'll get to that later. I don't know how long. I don't want to go all day. I don't give a shit. I could talk about this all day. How to survive jail in Teller County. So this trustee yells to me and says, what's up, Michael? What'd they get you for? I didn't recognize him. Didn't know who he was. Had no clue who he was. I knew he was a trustee, and I knew he recognized me by first name. I would find out later who he was. And later when I would get booked into the back, right now I'm up front. When I'd get booked into the back, I would end up getting put in a pod with this trustee. And I realized this trustee dug up my backyard For real, he worked for this contractor who just built these homes, and he had dug up and was part of the. I mean, this guy used my restroom. This guy had been in my house. This guy is in jail. These are the people in jail. Hardworking American people. They got psychopaths. They got some criminals. Tank being released. Thank God. They got other people in there. But there's also hardworking American men digging ditches, going to jail. So I would find out later who that guy was. Not at this time. I didn't know who he was. I thought, it's just another inmate. Recognizes me. Maybe he's a Facebooker. I don't know. But he ended up being someone I physically knew, someone I had shaken hands with, someone that had been to my house. Didn't recognize him. I'm in holding cell number 4. This is Sunday night into Monday. So now it's Monday morning. I've gone through the night in holding cell, slept. There was people in and out. There was things going on, but I got some sleep. One thing about jail is all of a sudden you got to turn off. Dad with the phone is no longer dad with the phone. Dad with a phone becomes dad with a jumpsuit and a pair of underwear and a spork and a cup. So dad with a phone becomes little to nothing more than a pitcher of water, a spork, and a cup. A couple of blankets and a mat. That's it. This is Dad's world. I'm in a concrete cell. I'm going to throw up a picture here. This is not a holding cell. This is more of a cell in the back. But you can understand without the bed, if you made that bed a concrete bench, basically that's the cell I'm in with a concrete bench instead of that bed. Later in the back, these are almost identical to the cells you would spend with. There would be 2 guys in this cell and a bunk bed like that. And so this is not the Teller County Jail. I could not find a picture of the cells of the Teller County Jail. This was the closest thing, and it's almost identical down to even the model of the bed they used there. And so now I'm in a room that has a concrete bench and a toilet, a metal toilet like that, and a sink and whatever, but it's like a 1 unit, and some clothes. I'm sitting in the holding cells at the Teller County Jail. If you're just joining, you're gonna have to go back and watch the hour prior, because we have barely scratched the surface of my visit. But we're probably right about in the middle of it right now, according to the time. So now it's Monday. It's Monday morning. People are now leaving for court. They've taken people. They take them about early. They take them early to court, and so they send them off early to court. Now I know what's going to happen today. One of 2 things is going to happen. 1, I'm going to get shipped to the back. 2, I could get bonded out. I'm going to see a judge today for what they call your arraignment, your first arraignment, to be notified of your charges and stuff like that. And this isn't a time where you would put in a plea or anything. This is just your first arraignment to be advisement. They call it advisement. You're going to be advised of your charges from the judge. Now, I already know who the judge is. I know that this judge is a good judge. Hands down. 100. I know more than anyone that this judge is a very, very fair, very reasonable judge. I also know that the people, the DA, the state, they like to call them the people to humanize them, but the truth is they're the state. And I'm going to prove to you that they're the state right here in this conversation, because I'm going to have an advisement on Monday where I'm going to sit there and I'm going to video chat with the judge, the DA, and they're going to advise me of their rights through Skype. To be honest, Skype didn't work, so my advisement was over the phone. I didn't get to video chat. I didn't get to look the judge in the eyes. I didn't get to face the accusers, the state. I didn't get to face the state. I simply got a phone call with them. This is what our court system has become. You no longer get to go to the courtroom. You no longer get to sit in front of the judge. You no longer get the principles in which have been laid out by the Constitution because of technology like video chat. The problem is when that video chat doesn't work and you put an inmate in a room with a phone and say you're talking to the judge, I don't know if this constitutes my rights as advisement. Maybe it does. It is very weird to me, and it is something that we've worked into the system, and it works. But I didn't get to see a judge. I didn't get to go before a judge. I got a phone call with the judge and the DA who was sitting there with the judge. They advised me of my rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to not say anything before us, or anything can be used against you, any of these things. Now I'm going to go into a bond hearing where I can give you a bond. I already had a bond set for $3,000. My bond was set at $3,000 the second I walked in. I forgot to mention this. As soon as I got booked in, I had a bond of $3,000. Now, I could pay $3,000 cash. I could go to a bondsman and pay $350 on that $3,000, and I would never see that $350 back. But the bondsman puts up the $3,000, and that $3,000 goes back to the bondsman if I show up for court. That's what a bond is. You're giving them cash to say, I'm going to show back up for court and face these charges. And then they let you out of jail. This works good for them because almost like RSVPs, a lot of people don't show up. And if they don't show up for whatever reason, they could have been in a car accident. And if they don't show up for whatever reason, the state, the county, the judge, the people get to keep that $3,000. Now, the bondsman is who gets to pay that. And so that's why you have to pay the bondsman a percentage of that bond for him to put that money up. So when I left a message with my wife, remember that message I left? That was another thing I said. Call my parents, call Bobby Brown. Now, Nikki called the office, Bobby Brown, and she talked to him a little bit. And then they advised her, said, well, Michael may get a PR bond. And a PR bond is where you get released on your personal recognizance, on your word that, hey, you're going to show up for court. I've actually had a PR bond before, showed up for court. I've never missed a court date, never, ever, except until yesterday. I missed a court date down in Colorado Springs because I was in jail. Now, that reminds me, I need to call them today. My wife had already called them. I don't have a warrant out. The jail had notified them, everything. I got to call them. Says you're going to show up for court. So she's about to talk about this bond. And this is the point where if anyone can give me a PR bond, the judge can. The judge is in control of this situation. This is my belief. I'm like, the judge is in control. This is a fair judge. This is a good judge. This is a good person. And she can do whatever the hell she wants. She could actually say at that moment, release Mr. Dalton. And they would have to release me. She could say, I'm dismissing these charges. She could. She could do whatever she wants. She's the judge. I'm not in her courtroom physically, but on the record, I'm in the court of law. On the record, I'm sitting there with the judge and the DA. Now, whether or not everything's being recorded. And she says, she goes through the charges, which is only one charge. No, didn't use his blinker, no speeding, no anything, just one charge. And says, the standard bond on this is $3,000. She said, I look at your score sheet here, you're a -1. I thought I was a 0, but I actually went negative in my score sheet. They do that scoring during booking. And I have family. I'm a longtime resident. I got children. Never missed a court date. All this stuff. But then I had some other stuff on there from 5 years ago, from 10 years ago, from 20 years ago, things. And there was one on there, and the DA, it was a misdemeanor charge. The DA says, well, he has this misdemeanor charge. That makes him ineligible for a PR bond because of statute, and dates these statutes. And I was like, damn, screwed by a law. The judge has no say. The judge goes, let me check that. Let me look at that. Let me read that. Let me check. This judge is like wanting to make sure this DA ain't bullshitting me. So she reads and she's like, damn. She doesn't say damn, but she's like, because I asked her, I said, listen, could you give me a PR bond? That'd be awesome. where I could just walk out. I'm gonna come. Everybody knows me in town. They know where I live. I've been here. I'm gonna come to. I'm scheduled to be in your courtroom on the 28th, and she sees all that information. She says, Michael, I can't do anything. I'm tied by the statute. I can't give you a PR bond. But she says, but what I can do is I can drop this bond from 3,000 to 1,000 bucks. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Judge. If you understand this, now all I got to do is put up 1,000 bucks cash, or pay someone 150 bucks. So now I'm not out 350 bucks. I'm out 150 bucks. Or come up and give him $3,000 cash. By the way, I just need to say this right now. I had 4 phone calls and 4 messages left by total strangers that found out when I was in jail. They said, now they only knew my phone number. They didn't know my wife's number. They didn't have my wife's number. Some of you had my wife's number, but my wife's number I don't put out there, right? And so they didn't have my wife's number. My phone was in lockup. But when I got out, I had 4 messages from people who said, Michael, we'll foot the bill for your bond. Get us in touch with your wife, get us in touch with your home, or let us help. Now, fortunately, the judge is a real fair judge and said, hey, I can't give you a PR bond, but I can drop this as low as I can drop it, And she did. She absolutely did, and I thank that judge straight up. So, but I found it interesting because I went into that room thinking the judge was in charge, but she's not. She is bound by the system. She doesn't even get to make a human decision. She doesn't get to make a decision based on her judgment as a judge. She has to make her decisions based on the law, which is weird because the judge, even though they should have to follow the laws, it's not like they should be able to violate people's laws. They should be able to have discretion when it comes to situations and say, hey, you know what? I want to give this guy a PR bond because, but she couldn't even do that. And that's just another slave, right? It's another slave to a system. We got the slaves inside there with the wands that are rocking up and down. They put badges on their heads. They give them pepper balls. They give them a lot of freedom, but they're prisoners inside the same prison I'm sitting in right now. Actually, I'm in an advisement room right now getting advised by the judge. So the judge drops my bond to 1,000. And then at this point, I haven't made any phone calls inside the Teller County Jail. This is the full next day. So this is 1 o'clock on the next day, Monday. This is Monday at 1 o'clock is when my advisement. I had to go through a video advisement, and then I went through a phone advisement. My video wasn't just a video. It was like, you've been right to me and sign anything you say, Cannon will be. If you're involved in domestic violence. Oh, let's talk about domestic violence for a second. First of all, there's a lot of people in jail for domestic violence, and sometimes it's domestic violence that is domestic violence charges because a spouse or a husband or a girlfriend or get into a fight and one of them calls. Sometimes it's domestic violence because they get into a fight and someone else calls. Sometimes it's domestic violence and their neighbor calls that didn't even know what was going on. And so there are people in jail for domestic violence when really it may have just been a spousal argument that then because someone reported it, because the cops, they have to take someone to jail. Again, bound by the system. The system has written, even if there's been no crime committed, if there is a call and they determine that something happened, someone's going to jail. And so there are a lot of people in jail for domestic violence. And if you talk to them, they're talking to their girlfriend that is supposedly charging them. They're talking to them, crying on the phone. They're crying through this new video chat thing. We'll talk about that here in a little bit too. They're crying through all this stuff. And I'm like, isn't that the girl that's pressing charges? And they're like, yeah, but she didn't do it. It was the neighbor. And we weren't even fighting. It was just an argument, And now someone ends up with a domestic violence charge. Now, a lot of those charges go away at court because they have to have a witness. Somebody's going to have to witness this, right? And a lot of times the neighbors aren't coming forward and the spouse ain't going to tell on them. And so a lot of these charges get dismissed. But the problem is you ruin a guy's life or you ruin a woman's life with 30 days in jail waiting for court. Because some people can't call up and get $1,000. Some people can't call up and get $2,000. Some people can't get $200, to post their bond. And so their entire lives get ruined over a nosy neighbor who, a husband and wife. Dude, I've been in some arguments with my wife that in a court of law would probably be domestic violence. Now I've never hit my wife, never physically got any of that, but there are other things that have happened. People throwing stuff, people, whatever, just heated arguments, right? That if someone were to call on us, one of us would have to go to jail because of the system. And that's what we've written. So anyway, during this, I'm getting all this domestic violence stuff in because I want to talk about something in this advisement video that I read. There was an advisement video that happened, and it said if you've been charged with domestic violence, you can no longer, during this time, this charge. This is how cops' lives get ruined. Because someone calls a domestic violence charge in on them, and then somebody ends up in trouble. But if you have a domestic violence charge, no matter if you've been found guilty or not, you lose your ability to have guns or ammo. And if your job requires you to have guns or ammo, you're going to lose your job, okay? Whether you're convicted or not convicted, you're going to lose your job. So this is why a lot of domestic violence that happens in police homes doesn't get reported, because the wives know they can't report or their husband won't be able to feed the family. So the husband can beat the shit out of the wife and not get reported as a police officer. That happens a lot. I bring up this domestic violence because they say you can't have a gun or ammo. Remember Double Black Eye Guy that left? Remember Double Black Eye Guy that was there for the booking and the officer talked to him? If you're just catching up on this story, you're going to have to go back. This is a story. Double Black Eye Guy showed back on shift. So after advisement, he actually sat in with us on advisement, Double Black Eye Guy. He showed up. He sat in advisement with me, and then he heard. He's the one who enters in. Oh yeah, she dropped the bond from 3,000 to the 1,000. I heard the judge say it. They start getting this paperwork rolling. He's the one. Oh, this guy's awesome, by the way. Double Black Eye. So at some point, I'm signing. What am I doing? Oh, right after advisement happened. I asked him, I have not made any phone calls. I haven't made any phone calls up to this point because I talked to my wife. I already think she's working on bond, getting it worked out, or she's waiting to see if I get a PR bond. And so I asked him, can I use the phone now? And he says, yeah. So I make the phone call, or right there, we're talking about, I'm going to make a phone call to my wife and see what's up. So I call her, she answers. I talk to her. I tell her what's going on. I tell her, hey, they didn't give me a PR bond, but they dropped the bond to $1,000. Go get $1,000 and come get me. And so I make this phone call. I'm also talking to Double Black Eye Guy, and I said, oh, somebody beat the hell out of you in here? Because it isn't uncommon to see officers with bruises and bumps and scars, because there are psychopaths in the jail. Remember that guy in the holding cell number 3? I think it's number 3, holding cell number 3. That dude, at every chance, will wear a badge of honor if he can give an officer a black eye. This is more real than police officers getting. It's more likely that an officer inside a correctional facility is going to get assaulted than it is for an officer to get assaulted at a traffic stop. I promise you. The statistics inside correctional facilities, and this is why, whether you're a dad or a psychopath, you kind of get treated universally. I'm not going to tell you that if you're a dick inside the correctional facility, you're going to get the same treatment dad gets, because that's not going to happen. If you're a dick inside this facility, Bulldog, remember Bulldog? Bulldog's going to take a pleasure in putting a bulldogging on you. And so when you're inside the jail, I would suggest as a survival tip to be friendly, courteous, polite, stuff like that. So Dad's talking to double black eye guy. And I say, where'd you get those black eyes? Somebody beat the hell out of you in here? And he said, no. But both officers acknowledge that was a fair question. There was another officer. That's a fair question. That could happen any day. Oh, I was getting my medical done. This is what was happening at the time because there was a doctor there. But this was right around the same time, phone calls, all this stuff was happening. I got pulled out and I was getting my medical done because the doctor, it wasn't an officer, it was a doctor and double black eye. And then double black eye says, oh no, my wife beat the shit out of me. And I said, I hope you're joking because domestic violence isn't a joke and you could lose your job because you won't be able to have a gun. And he goes, oh, I'm just kidding. I wanted him to know that I observed this during advisement. But then I said to him, you don't have to lie to me. I know you do some MMA. And his eyes got big. Now, did I know for a fact that this guy did MMA? No. But I was about 97% sure. Why? Because I like fighters. I watch fighting, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, Thai boxing, UFC, MMA. And the double black eyes he had, those were MMA black eyes. They're very common. He was wearing headgear when he got them. I could tell because of how the black eyes were on his face. So when I asked the question how he got the black eyes, I already knew he had headgear on when it happened. I already had a very stinking suspicion this guy was a fighter. But I wanted to verify with him without asking him. And so when I said, no, I know you got those doing some MMA, he said, his eyes got big. How you know that? How you know that? Because I'm Dad, I know everything. I don't think I quoted that. I think I said because I know fighters and I can see you had headgear on or something. And so that's how double black eye got his double black eyes. Observations, questions, and information. Another time that an officer untrainedly gave up information in which if I was a psychopath, I would have heard it all. Double black eye guy. Now, double black eye guy would soon let me know that not only did the booking officer know that I was known around the parts, but double black eye said, are you going to talk about me on your Facebook page? And I said, absolutely. It's all part of the story. I said, this whole thing that's happening to me right now is my life. It's my story. This is what's happening. This is what is going down. You're a part of it. I said, just like Fainting Goat is going to be in the documentary, you're going to be a part of the story of how to survive jail with Patrick Frazee. Up until this point, I had not seen Patrick Frazee. Up until this point, I wasn't sure if I was getting bonded out yet because nothing had moved. Nothing had happened. The reason why that doctor was checking me out during this double black eye conversation with this guy was because they were about to move me from the Holiday Inn hotel holding cells to General Pop. That is going to the back. This is why I'm getting this medical evaluation. Are you medically fit to go to general population? Now, a couple of things that need to be noted. During the booking process, when Pepperball, Pepperball? When Pepperball was asking questions of me, the question was asked, do you have a problem with any inmates in this facility that you know of? That question was asked. I thought it was fitting that I said, well, I'm a state-endorsed witness in the Patrick Frazee murder case. Pepperball's eyes got big. I said, you didn't know this? And I looked over at another officer that was there that was also in the court or had been at court. Now, I don't know if he was in the court that day, but I know he had been at court. And I said, you can ask that officer. He knows the facts. And the guy turns and says, yeah, he is a witness in the Patrick Frazee murder case. Now, most of you are saying, why the hell did you tell her that? What if they would have put you with Patrick Frazee? There is nowhere in my mind do I think they were going to stick me in a cell with Patrick Frazee. But after I told her that, and sometime in that holding cell, there was a thought. What would you do if they stuck you in a cell with Patrick Frazee? And so a lot of questions begin to roll through my head about what would be the conversation? Would I just jump up and try to beat the hell out of Patrick? Would I be scared that he's going to try to beat the hell out of me? What would be the conversation between Dad with a phone and Patrick Frazee in the Teller County Jail? Now, nowhere in my mind did I think I was going to get put in a cell with Patrick Frazee. So when I told this booking agent, hey, I'm a state-endorsed witness in a murder case of one of your inmates, she got a little big-eyed for a second. She looked over at the, yep, confirmation. And she says, I'm going to make note of that and it's going to be made note on your intake here. So I'm getting medically cleared now. It is, I think it's about 3 or 5 o'clock, somewhere between 3. Remember, time is irrelevant at this point. Hours could be days, days could be hours, seconds could be hours, minutes could be hours, hours could be minutes. All these things, when time becomes irrelevant, the only way I can judge this now is because I know what time they let me out, okay? They knew I was getting bonded. Bobby Brown had already made by the way, Bobby Brown, shout out, sponsored. Actually, this is a great time. You know something that you need to know, how to survive jail. If a loved one of yours goes to jail, right? If a loved one goes to jail, and you're the person who has to go get the bond to get them out. If you are a spouse, especially if you are a spouse, you are going to need what they call a cosigner. Now, there are a few times you can get away without having a cosigner. If the person that's bonding you out is a business owner, a homeowner, sometimes a homeowner won't happen if you're a spouse, because if you live in the same house, it doesn't actually work. And so a lot of times you'll have to get a cosigner, no matter if it's a $1,000 bond or $100,000. If most of the time when it's a $100,000 bond, you want to go get a cosigner. Now, some people ask, well, why didn't you just take $1,000 cash up there? 'Cause I ain't stupid. So I could go pay $1,000 bond, no problem. But for any reason, if you miss court, they get that $1,000. You don't get that back, right? And so $150 to just lose or to give the county $1,000, I go with pay Bobby Brown. Let him give the county $1,000. So I tell my wife, another message phone call from Woodland Park PD. Hey, call my parents. Call the bondsman. Call my lawyer. Those kind of things. What else I'll tell her? I told her a bunch of things. I told her some other things too. So Bobby had already called. By the way, side note, Mrs. Underground had the privilege of meeting Dog the Bounty Hunter and Bobby Brown and Beth down at Bobby Brown's. They're filming a new episode. They were filming Nikki may be in the episode. Now, she was like, I was starstruck. I love these people. I smiled at them. I waved at them. Dog said hello, everybody. But she was also there to get her husband out of jail. So you have to understand the internal struggle going on with Miss Underground. But side note, Miss Underground met Dog the Bounty Hunter and Beth when she was getting my bond set up with Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown calls the Teller County Jail and says, I'm bonding out Dalton. I'm bonding out the underground. I'm taking care of the underground. Bobby Brown, shout out. Unofficial sponsor. Second unofficial sponsor that I'm not going to say by name, but I want you to know this. Although I enjoy your company, although I enjoy you viewing and watching and supporting and praying and liking and subbing and doing all these nice things, when the rubber meets the road, you can't co-sign with my wife for my bond. You need real people, real friends, people that'll go to battle with you. Without hesitation, without a doubt in my mind, when I called my wife and I talked to her and I said, go get Bobby, call this person if you need a co-signer. They will do it without hesitation. She said, are you sure? I said, absolutely. So my wife needed a co-signer. She called that person up and they said, absolutely, without hesitation. So although this social media world is incredible, surround yourself physically, because you know what? Although I would co-sign for half of you, maybe not Casey, maybe not half of you. I would co-sign for some of you. I would co-sign for Danielle. I would co-sign for Danielle. I would co-sign for Jenny. I would co-sign for Jay. I could go on and on and on. I would co-sign. Surround yourself with physical people, friends, people, your neighbors. Yeah, maybe you don't have family in the area. I don't have family. I couldn't call my daddy up and say, Daddy, come co-sign. My dad would have done it. I couldn't do it. He has to physically be here to co-sign. Have those friends that'll go to battle with you. How to survive jail in Teller County. Have a co-signer on speed dial. Have a co-signer on speed dial. Nikki goes, gets him on. Blah, blah. Bobby Brown calls and says, we're bonding him out. Now, double black eye guy, he's in charge of my booking now. He's going to be in charge of things, okay? He asked me, are you getting bonded out? I said, I hope so. Well, I think my wife's working on it, but there's nothing I can do. I'm in a box. And he says, well, I just need to know because whether or not I'm going to put you back there or leave you up here. And I said, put me back there. And he said, without hesitation, double black eye guy goes, it's good for the story, isn't it? I say, you're getting it. You understand now. We are all on this journey. You are a part of my story. You are a part of my life in this place they call jail, this place where you can put humans in boxes and joke about pepper balls to the chest. This place where they feed you like animals. You're understanding. He looks at me and says, if I put you back there, it's better for the story, isn't it? You know what was going through my head? What if they put me next to Patrick? It was already in my head. It was already, yeah. I can't lie to you. I can't lie to you and say I spent the night across from Patrick Frazee if I didn't really spend the night across from Patrick Frazee, because these guys will jump up and they will call you a liar. I couldn't tell you Patrick was in holding cell 1 and tell you the story of what I did the first time because he wasn't there the second time. So when that guy said to me, he said, now I know they're not going to put me next to Patrick. Remember, I already told booking agent, I'm a witness in this dude's case. But if there's a chance, but only if there's a chance. So now I believe my wife is on her way to booking me out. I know this guy, after the fact, had already gotten the phone call. I know Bobby Brown had already called him and said, we're doing the paperwork. The problem is because my arraignment judge, or my advisement judge, God bless her soul, dropped the price. They had to do that paperwork, snail's pace. Nothing moves in the system except at a snail's pace. So I had to wait for that system to update because they can't give Bobby the right information. Even though they know it in their minds, they can't tell. They can tell Bobby it's $1,000, but we got to wait for the judge and the court and everybody. So that stuff didn't even get in till about 6 o'clock. They moved me to the back at 5. Bobby had called at 3. So a little before 5, because 5 is dinner time. And so a little before 5, I get moved to the back. Now I get put in in block D, in D unit. So I go from hotel holding, they call it the hotel, to the unit. And so they put me in D unit. Okay, D unit is directly across from E unit. The difference is D unit has all windows. E unit is a concrete wall with a door. Behind the door are the chomos, are the segregated ags, are the violent criminals, the celebrities. The chomos, though, is mainly what they keep. Child molesters. They want to keep them out of they want to keep them out of general population because they do not survive general population. Now, I don't know where Patrick's at. I make a quick observation within seconds. I know everyone in the unit as far as they are not Patrick. This is where I meet the trustee guy. Remember the trustee kid? Found out, oh, that was the dude that dug my ditch. Met a couple other people that recognized me only because they had been there a while. And they'd seen me up there in a holding for the DUI, or they'd seen something, so they recognized me. Big old black dude. Big black dude. Now, contrary to popular belief, when you go into a holding cell, there is still a hierarchy, even in county jail. That cell is run by someone. That holding cell is run by someone. That someone is the guy who, when he walks up to the table, if all the seats are taken, someone gets up and gives that seat away. This is the mentality. Now I have gone from a protected little cell with me and my thoughts and me and my own body and me in controlled spaces, breathing, yoga, all that bullshit is now gone. I'm in a holding cell. Not in a holding cell. I'm in a general population cell, Unit D, in Teller County Jail. When you walk into this, now this is what that looks like. I'm gonna bring up a picture of what this looks like. This is not Teller County Jail. This is very, very similar to the units of Teller County Jail. Inside these cells would be the rooms like you see right there. The room. So this is the holding area. So now you got multiple cells, a day room area. Someone runs this day room. One thing that you have to understand, there are no guards in this day room 24 hours. There are guards across the hall in a surveillance tower. That's not a tower. It's just like a surveillance room. They can see cameras. There's obviously cameras in this room, but there's no guards in here. And even though they can hear everything that's going on, they can push a button and listen to what's going on in the room. They can hear all of that. The reason they do this is because when you remove the physical guard, even though they can see you on camera, they can hear you, they can hear what you're saying, there's something about people that will just open up. They'll talk a little more. They'll converse a little more. They'll have conversations. And a lot of information. Remember, every word you say, calculate. Because even when they're not watching, they're always watching. Right? They're always watching. And so every word that you use, let it be calculated. Survival guide to survive in jail. I hope you never find yourself in jail. But if you do, remember what Dad's telling you. Watch your words because they're always watching. So you walk into this room after I get my room made up, got my bed stuff, met my cellie, young kid, never been to jail before. I know this before he even tells me this, but he tells me this about an hour after I've been there. I've never been to jail. Obviously I already knew. And there are special rules you need to follow when you're in jail. There are etiquettes that you when you're in a cell with someone else that you've never met. So pleasantries are exchanged. little conversation, but then I want to go back out on the unit. I want to see what's going on. I want to see who's here. I need to find out who's running this place. One, because there's two things that can happen. A lot of times you've heard the old story of going to prison and they're like, find the biggest dude in the yard and go punch that dude in the face. I do not suggest this. Dad would never tell you to pick a fight, especially if you've never been to jail. I tell you, keep your mouth shut, right? Keep your mouth shut. And if you can't keep your mouth shut, sometimes Dad can't keep his mouth shut. Let's be honest. Let's be real honest. I talk a lot. Survival guide from Dad. If you can't keep your mouth shut in jail, let the very first things that come out of your mouth make an individual laugh or make the room laugh. Because everybody likes to laugh. Now don't be crass. Don't make fun of someone's expense. Don't make fun of anyone at the expense of that laughter, because you never know who you're making fun of. You could be making fun of Dad, or you could be making fun of Psycho. So you got to be careful. But calculate your words specifically. A lot of times, a lot of questions will be asked of you immediately when you walk into a unit. Who are you? Why are you here? And then a lot of questions like, do you play pinochle? Do you play spades? Do you play handball? Do you play chess? Do you play? Right? They want to know, are you a competitor? Are you a gambler? Okay, gambling happens every day, all day, from county jail to state prison to federal prison. They're gambling for food. They're gambling for sugar. They're gambling for soups. They used to gamble for smokes. They ain't gambling for smokes no more. But gambling's happening. I like to gamble. I'm a gambling man. I'll take a gamble if I think it's going to pay off, right? Most of the time, the guy who's asking these initial questions could be just somebody nosy. You gotta see. Are they a nosy person? Are they a thief? A lot of times thieves will try to get information from you to get things, whatever, you know. But sometimes pod leader comes over, the unit, the guys who's running this unit. Now, a lot of times this guy is a quiet guy, or it could be a loud guy. You never know. A guy starts asking me a bunch of questions. I said, well, I play chess. He says, you think you're any good? And I said, I'll beat you. And he laughed and said, oh, I got a little cockiness, laughing. Big black dude. This is a big black dude. Now, I saw him playing chess earlier. When I walked in, he was playing chess with someone else. But he asked me if I played pinochle. Do you play pinochle? I said, no. But I play chess. So I let him know immediately, either he caught it or he didn't catch it. I observed you playing chess. I watched you. When I came in the pod, you were playing chess. You weren't playing pinochle. You were playing chess. So when he asked me if I played pinochle, I said, no, I play chess. Do I play chess? Yes. I loved the movie Bobby Fischer. I learned to play chess at about 7 years of age, and I never looked back. I love the game of chess. I think I can see chess moves 10, 15 moves ahead. I'm not an expert. I'm not a pro. But when in jail, there's not many jailhouse chess players that are going to go up against Dad and beat Dad. There are some, but there's not many. I saw him playing chess. I needed to get a laugh out of this guy. I think he's running the pod. Big black dude. I make him laugh. Boom. I play chess. So, but I'm not there to play chess. I'm there for one reason, to get a story. I'm there to find out what's going on with Patrick Frazee. So I tell him, hey, come here. Remember, every word is calculated. I didn't want to have this. I didn't want to make anyone else laugh. As a matter of fact, I didn't want anyone else in the pod except that big black dude and me to have a conversation. Came over to me. I said, hey, what unit is Patrick in? He said, Patrick? I said, Frazee. He said, Crazy Frazee? I said, yeah, Crazy Frazee. He used that term. I didn't. He said, he's in E-Pod right across. I said, E-Pod, he's in with the Chomos. He's in with the Chomos? Oh. Now, I've never been in the Chomo pod. I don't know what the Chomo pod looks like. I actually had never been in D-Pod, so I'd never been able to look into E-Pod to even see what E-Pod looked like. He said, you'll see him when they deliver meal. Now, this has all happened before 5 o'clock. I just put my shit away. I just came out onto the unit. I had a little pleasantries with my cellmate. Boom, 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 boom. I'm talking to the guy I think's the unit pod leader. And I said, where's Patrick? He said, E-pod right across. He says, when they bring out the food, they'll have to come out and walk and get their trays. You'll see Patrick. Sweet. Because I'm this close now. That window, half the distance, right? From here to me, half the distance of the hallway. There's another half distance. He's got to walk out. He's going to have to get his tray. There's going to be glass between us. But if I'm standing right here, looking right here, right now, when they're handing that food out, Patrick is going to see me. I want to see his reaction. I want to see his face. Does he have a new haircut? What's he wearing? What's his demeanor? What's his weight? How's he interacting with the guards? Oh, I'm getting excited. They bring the trays. I see him drop the trays at A unit. I'm like, bad. They go to the women's unit, drop the trays. They come to our unit, drop the trays. They go to E unit. They start to serve. They drop them in front of the doors. They don't serve anything. They go to E unit. I'm standing there right now, being able to look right in the door. The door opens. Nobody's there. Nobody's there. What I observe is cells without windows with little slots, more like a lockdown cell. And nobody comes out. Big black dude, pod leader, comes over and says, they didn't let him out today to get their trays. Takes the trays in, sets the trays in. I see a little bit of the unit just through a doorway, and nobody's there. Shysters. Missed it. Can't tell the story. I can't tell you that I'm this close to Patrick. Oh, I'm frustrated, kind of. I'm a little frustrated. We eat dinner. I then go into a mode where I'm like, man, it's 7 o'clock. Why the hell am I still here? Like all of a sudden, those thoughts. I'm like, why the hell am I still in jail? There's no way Bobby Brown can't get me out. I already know Nikki's calling. I already know she's on it. I know if she can't make it happen, Cam can. Oh, I just gave his name out. Cam can make it happen. I know if there's no reason why $1,000 should not keep Dad in jail. I promise you that. I'm kind of starting to battle this thing in my mind. I start losing observation mode because now I realize, damn, I'm just in a cell with criminals. Now, some of these people I know, some of them I don't. So I go back up into my cell and my cellie and another guy. So then I learn a little bit more about them. I didn't know this. I did not know this. The U.S. military has a contract with Teller County Jail. If you get in trouble down at Fort Carson, if you get in trouble down at one of the Air Force bases, if you get in the U.S. military as a whole in Colorado Springs, if you get in trouble, instead of you going to El Paso County Jail, the military has some sort of plan with Teller County that they will bring their inmates up here and they will pay Teller County for Teller County to house military inmates. I realize my cellie is a military inmate. This fascinates me for a second. This takes my attention away from why the hell am I still here? I should be bonded out, to why am I supposed to be in a cell with this military guy? Now, me and this kid, he's just a kid. He's 26 years old. He's been in the military for 5 years. He finds himself in this cell. We don't go deep into charges. Unwritten rule, you don't really have to ask what people are in there for. It's kind of a joke. I've been screwed by the cops. In my case, I was like, I've been screwed by the cops. And they're like, yeah, we've all been screwed by the cops. And I'm like, no, I really have been screwed by the cops, but it's okay. We don't. I understand what you're joking about. I really have been screwed by the cops. But nonetheless, I've been screwed by the cops. This guy tells me, yeah, I've been screwed by the cops. So we just have these conversations. Had a great conversation. It took me off of. This guy had been in there for 15, 16 days. He didn't know what's happening with his fate because it's a military thing. He don't even know it's different rules, different. It's all a different ball game. I'm in there, I'm talking. We're in lockdown now after dinner. This is a lockdown moment after dinner. They're going to come in. They're going to clean the place up. The trustee kid that dug up my backyard, he's now out there mopping. Everybody's in lockdown after dinner. I don't know what time it is, but I just know that, damn, I shouldn't even be here right now. I should be out. Oh, boy, am I glad I wasn't. Oh, boy, am I glad I was not out yet. So it's Monday night. It's I think they let us out 7:30. Let's say we get out at 7:30. In this time, I am now going, I got to make a phone call. I got to use this video chat. I got to get a hold of somebody to let me know something's happening because I can't do nothing. And am I going to be here for a week? Am I going to be here for 10 days? Am I going to be here for 30 days? What the hell's going on? Nikki, what the hell's going on? All these thoughts begin to run in your head. You got to take captive. And it was funny because I was talking to that military kid. I was talking about taking captive every thought. You can't let those thoughts run wild. There's a poem I like to preach or say or recite when I'm in a situation. And I did it in the yoga when I was in a holding cell in the yoga. You can listen up because this is actually a poem for everybody. And it's real simple. The prison walls that run from floor to ceiling, and bars that are of steel, a prison world that you can see and you can feel. But the prison inside your heart is stronger than the bars made of steel. And that's what you got to take control of in any situation, is the prison of your own heart, the prison of your own mind. I was surrounded by bars of steel. Not really, concrete walls. We don't use bars of steel anymore. We use some doors of steel, but no bars. But it doesn't work for the poem. I was surrounded by bars of steel, but yet I wasn't in prison. My mind, my heart, everything was out. I was observing. I was storytelling. I was on a job for all intents and purposes. I told Double Black Eye, my goal is to make more money over this situation than all these guards combined. How are you going to do that? I don't know. Tell the story. I don't know. Have an inside track. Maybe I'll get a conversation with Patrick. I don't know. But I'm not going to let this prison, this jail, control the heart, right? I'm not going to let it control my mind. But I ain't going to lie. Some bitch tried. They try to lock those hearts up. They try. Even the thoughts of, man, maybe Nikki's mad. Maybe Nikki's just frustrated. Damn it, Michael, why'd you do this? Damn it, Michael, how'd you get yourself thrown in jail? Damn it, Michael. Trust me, she could say all those things. All those things would have been legit. Especially behind the situation. We had this conversation. So there could have been, I tried to go call, no answer. I tried to do video chat, no answer. I'm like, what the hell's going on? No answer. Multiple times. Now my mind is running. Screw the prison wall poem, screw all the controls, screw the yoga, screw the breathing, screw everything. I haven't eaten nothing all day because I'm fasting. That's my problem. Damn it, Michael. Why didn't you know that? Why didn't you see that? So I got this thing. When I go into jail, sometimes it's for a day, sometimes it's for 7 days. The most I've ever done is 7 days of fasting inside an institution. Now, the most I've been in jail is 10 days in the last 20 years. Now, when I was younger, I spent 18 months in jail. So jail is not new. When my dad, I was 18 months in jail that my dad ran. That's a true ass story right there. I was when I was 19 years old, 18 years old. I was in the county jail, that 1,000+ inmates. If you're just coming into this story, that my dad was in charge of. That's another story that I need to bring on Papa for. I have to bring on Grandpa Underground for that story. But nevertheless, up until this point, the most time I'd ever spent in jail outside in the U.S., I've been in some holding cells in other countries. I've been in jail in other countries, not for any length of time, but for holding, more than most countries than people have visited. So trust me, when you're in the Holiday Inn up in Teller, it's the Holiday Inn. So the most time I'd ever spent in jail or fasted in jail was 7 days. What happens when you fast? I'm starving my body of food. That's it. I decide not to eat. I'll drink. I'll have some Kool-Aid. I'll drink the juice. I'll drink the water. I'll stay hydrated. But I'm not going to eat your food. A couple of things take place when you fast in jail. One, every time you fast but you don't take a tray, like if you don't take a tray when they bring you those trays, like that time when I was looking for Patrick, I didn't take a tray a second. I told the guard, I don't want my tray. I tell him that because, one, I haven't made a relationship with anyone inside this jail yet. I don't plan on making a relationship because I think I'm going to be out in a few hours. If I thought I was going to be there, if I thought I was going to have to spend time in that jail, I would have grabbed that tray. I would have gone over to the boss and said, hey, man, take my tray. I'm not going to eat it. The first time. The second time, I would have sold the tray for a soup, not because I was going to eat the soup, but I need a bargaining chip. I need to gamble. I need to play some chess for a soup. I need to collect some soups, right? If I'm going to stay there and I'm going to fast. But the first one, you always want to refuse, especially when you haven't made no deals, when you haven't made any friends, you haven't made any acquaintances. You're not trading soups. You're not doing time because you don't spend on being there long. If you're going to do time, you want to leg up in any way you can. And so collect your trays, give them to your best friend, whoever, right? But if you refuse a tray, paperwork, paperwork. And I know this. They have to report this. They have to state this in paperwork. They have to say Michael had refused his tray. I had now refused 3 trays, breakfast, lunch, and dinner for Monday. On Sunday night, I refused dinner. So I had refused 4 trays at this point. This is Monday evening. I'm fasting. Take control. Now, what happens when you fast is your body gets weak. When you're used to having coffee in the morning, you're used to eating lunch, you're used to eating dinner, you're used to this, your body's going to get weak. Your mind is going to get weak. But if you believe in something else, if you believe there is a spiritual world, if you believe that your soul is real, we call it your soul, your spirit, whatever, your mind gets weak, your body gets weak, but your soul, it generates strength. And you got to be careful because the heart is not a part of that. I'm talking about your soul, right? Your mind is not a part of that. Your mind will play tricks on you. Your mind will start telling you things like, damn, Nikki, what the hell are you doing? Damn, Dad, why aren't you answering my phone call? Damn, why aren't y'all answering my... It's a free video chat. You can video chat now for free. This is brand new. Now, it's not always free, but the first video chat with an inmate inside the unit, they have this video chat machine. Holy shit, I even thought about... I was like, damn, I wish I had Jay's number because I could literally call Jay and video chat with Jay. Right? So my mind is weak. My heart is starting to get weak. My soul's getting a little stronger, but my mind is fighting these battles. Pull it together, Michael. Your story's coming. That's what I heard. Whether you believe me or not, pull it together, Michael. Your story's coming. And about the time I heard that, I'm sitting up in my cell. I'm talking to my cellmate about this conversation. We're literally having the conversation about controlling your mind in jail. This guy hadn't been to jail ever. He was like, man, I'm having to control my mind and this, that, and the other. And this. So we're having this conversation. In my mind, in my body, I'm having this discussion with me about my wife. Why the hell I ain't out of here yet? Where the hell is Bobby Brown? All of a sudden I hear boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? I open my cell door. Guess who's out of EPOD? All of EPOD is taking medication. Holy shit, there's Patrick Frazee. I come down the stairs at a pace, at a clip. Big black dude said, there's Frazee, crazy Frazee. Crazy Frazee turns, looks. He can hear through the glass. I now am standing 2 arm lengths away from Patrick Frazee. He's having a conversation with the doc taking crazy meds. I don't know what kind of crazy meds Crazy Frazee's on. But he's got a fresh haircut, ladies. Freshly shaved. Now, not skin shaved, not how Dad does it, but as close to the edge as possible. Patrick's got a brand new do. I am now 2 arm lengths away. There's nothing that separates me from Patrick except the glass pane. He is outside of the E unit, and he's talking to the doctor. The guy yells crazy Frazee as I walk up to the glass, and Patrick glances, goes back to the doctor, and whips his neck around. We are now eye contact locked. And I'm sitting there across from Patrick Frazee, accused murderer of Kelsey Barrett. I'm not in a cell with him. There's not 100 guards around. There's 1 guard, 1 doctor. There's people banging on the window, which isn't normal. But I would find out in just a few minutes what the inmates of Teller County think of Patrick. But right now, I'm in a stare down with Patrick Frazee. There is no doubt in my mind, he knew exactly who I was. He knew I knew exactly who he was. And we're staring. And for the next 15 seconds, maybe 30, the doc is now speaking with another inmate from E Unit. They're handing out medicine. And me and Patrick are just over an arm length, 2 arm lengths away from each other. He's not walking by me. He's not ignoring me. It is almost like I was caught in a moment that probably lasted 15 seconds, 30 seconds at the longest. But it felt like an eternity. And I didn't say anything. I didn't bang on the window. I didn't question him. But the conversation in which our eyes had, I don't even know if I have the words to explain it, but I'm going to do it the best. It was fear. It was unknowing. It was the same battle I was having a few minutes ago with myself. Has everyone on the outside given up? Now, he had a conversation physically talking with the doctor. I tried to listen. Because we broke eye contact after this fear, this question, this what is going on, as we stared at each other from an arm length away, fresh cut on Patrick and all, coming out of the Chomo unit, probably 23 hours lockdown. Now, Patrick still gets visitation rights, but he's in segregation in the Chomo unit. He's in a little cell with his thoughts and his mind. And all of a sudden, there was a familiar. It wasn't Mom. It wasn't old Ma. It wasn't brother. It wasn't KK. It wasn't my best friend over in Cripple Creek. It wasn't Bob or Bill or Michelle. It wasn't anyone. It was Dad with a freaking phone standing across from Patrick Frazee in the Teller County Jail. Damn it, I should have been out of here by now. I shouldn't even have this story to tell you. Thank you, Double Black Eye Man. Thank you for giving me a story. Thank you for letting me stare face to face with accused murderer Patrick Frazee. Now, it wasn't a long conversation. He didn't confess to me. He didn't give up the murder. He didn't give up he didn't give it up. He didn't tell me he killed Kelsey. He didn't tell me KK killed Kelsey. He didn't tell me nothing. But his eyes were screaming. Face to face. No television. No live video. No phone. No feeling cute with Patrick Frazee. None of that. 2 dads. One accused of murder. One accused of driving. 2 dads having a conversation with their eyes. Bald Frazee. Shaved, clean cut. Shaved. Shave, clean cut, fresh dew, fresh dew, fresh dew. And then I realized big black dude was here. That banging on the walls had stopped. Inmates were looking at me, looking at Patrick. The big black guy goes, how does he know you? I said, I'm a witness in his case. All of a sudden, I realized the world is having a conversation about Patrick Frazee. Don't think D Unit ain't having a contract or a conversation about Patrick Frazee. All of a sudden, click. I seen you on Dateline. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Black guy. So you know Patrick? I said, no. I said, that's the closest I've ever been to. That, outside the conversation I had with him in the holding cell a month or two back, where I actually had some gestures to him and stuff, that's the most he's ever told me. He said he didn't say nothing. I said, no, but you saw it, didn't you? Big black guy, pod unit leader. Now we're talking about Patrick. Somebody else comes on. I think he's innocent. Why do you think he's innocent? We start talking. I think he's guilty. I beat the mother tar off that sumbitch if they let me. Psycho. Not the psycho back up there, but another note to self. That dude will beat the mother freaking tar off a Chomo. And for him, it don't matter what Patrick's in for. He's in the Chomo unit. That makes him a snitch or a Chomo. Chomo beater right there. Mental note. One guy is innocent. One guy is guilty. What do you know about the case, Dalton? Trustee. The guy who dug up my backyard. What do you know about the case, Dalton? What did you say? You were a witness? For the next 10, 15 minutes, I would have a conversation with inmates about Patrick Frazee. I'm having a conversation with 200. I'm not having a conversation. I am ranting to 200 people right now. But last night, I had a conversation with inmates who are living across from Patrick Frazee, who see him on a daily basis, who pointed me in the direction. You're going to see him through that door at dinner time. Damn, they didn't come out for dinner tonight. Nobody even told me about medical call, but what I found out is that when Patrick Frazee walks down the hallway in front of D Unit, whether he's coming out for meds, for dinner time, whether he's walking up for a visitation, because later in the day, he would go up for a visitation. I'll tell you about that story here in just a little bit. But what I would find out is there are inmates, bam, 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 bam. That's the Patrick alarm. That's the alarm. If you bang on windows too long, you get written up. You don't want to get a write-up. Some of these guys don't give a shit about a write-up. Bang on the windows. They're lucky they don't kick your ass and get a write-up. You know what I'm saying? Psychopath. Psychopath. Not real psychopath. Little psychopath that hadn't been caught yet. I will beat the mother effing off him if I'm ever even close to him. So I had a conversation with Patrick through my eyes. Then I had a conversation with the inmates who live across from Patrick on a daily basis. Oh, the E unit, the Chomos, some craziness. Patrick's got a new do. The story is always around you. All right, I seen Patrick. Damn it. Why hasn't Nikki got me out? Cool, I saw Patrick. Let me get out. I don't want to be here no more. Jail sucks. That battle in my mind starts coming. I'm over at the phone trying to call Nikki, trying to figure out. Now it's 8:30, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, maybe 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It's probably 9:30 or something. I don't know what time they do meds. Again, time is relevant. You're getting there. You're going to turn off the lights, you're going to bed. You're going to turn on the lights, you're getting out of bed. You're going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Don't give a shit what time it is. Don't care. You're here inside these walls. Time is irrelevant. But it's getting later. I'm trying to figure out why the hell am I not? It's 9 o'clock at least. Why the hell am I still here? All of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. Starts down in there. I'm at one end of the cell. The phones are on one end. The boom boom starts on this end and then it just travels. Boom, 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 boom. Crazy dudes walking down the freaking window. Banging. Guess who's walking down the aisle? Patrick and a guard. Guess where they're going? Visitation. Who's he visiting? Probably Oma. But I don't know for sure. As Patrick walks by at the phone, big black guy. Dalton, there goes Crazy Frazee. Crazy Frazee. I turn. Double take. Patrick looks again. We don't have eye contact for more than a few seconds, but no doubt in my mind, Patrick Frazee took a double take. Looked right at me while I was on the phone. Why the hell is this guy here? Patrick's probably saying. I've seen this guy in every freaking court. Who is this guy? Is he undercover cop? Is he freaking a dad with a... I can just imagine the thoughts in Patrick's head. I don't know if I'm taking up thoughts during his sleep. I don't know if it was only for a few seconds. But I guarantee you. Some fun stuff, though. It's a good story. It's 100% true to my knowledge. When I say that is, have I elaborated? I don't know. That's how I saw it. That's the story I'm telling. This is my honest opinion, my story. Did I see? Yes. Some people in that D unit, they don't want to hear that he's guilty. Some people, innocent until proven guilty. I said, you know what, guys? I think he might actually walk. I think the cops may have let him go. I'll tell you what, when you talk, okay, here's it. Survival tip number 4. When all else fails, just say the police and everybody will like you in jail. In this case, I was saying these cops probably screwed up, so yeah, he's probably going to walk. I wish they would have screwed up in my case. That's what I heard. So, do I think Patrick Frazee is going to walk? I don't know if he's going to walk. Who's at work but really listening to Dad? Miss Melissa. I love it. I'm glad I looked up at that comment. See, those are the kind of comments I like. Who's listening? Man. Another night in jail with Patrick Frazee. The stories we will tell our grandchildren. Listen, I do not suggest anybody go to jail. I sure as hell don't want to go to jail again. I don't want to spend a day in jail. But when you go to jail, and if it happens, if you come across this moment when you find yourself locked in a box in the middle of a legal slave trade industry, we call it our correctional facilities. Make no mistake about it. They are in the business of trading human beings. Whether or not those human beings have done something, I don't think anyone has done anything. I think if you kill someone, you should be put to death. If we can convict you, then you should be put to death. If there are circumstances around that killing that are questionable, cool, let's have a facility for you. If you're selling drugs to kids, if you're messing with kids, you should be put to death or you should be put in general pop. Either one will work. But to put a dad in with a psychopath, I don't think so. To put a guy that went out and had a few beers, doesn't kill anybody, doesn't commit a crime, simply gets pulled over, and because of the judgment of a police officer, the judgment of another human being that drinks too, he says, oh, you're unfit to drive, you're going to jail for DUI, and your life is kind of over. That happens daily with people. It happens daily. I don't care what anybody says about me. The most I ever drink is with you guys on a whiskey night. I'm not a big drinker. I do some other recreational things that I don't necessarily do on camera a lot. Maybe I'll start more because I just don't give a... Now they can't get me for nothing. But to human traffic people inside the correctional facility, which I believe happens a lot, just like the military is humanly trafficked people up here to Teller County and pays Teller County, and Teller County receives a profit off the human that they put in a box. I don't know necessarily what the reason is that guy's in a box, that cellie that I talked to, but I don't think he's a psycho. I don't think he's a crazy. I don't know if he should be put in the same boxes as some of these other people. I sure as hell don't think I should be put in the same box. I understand the reasoning behind it. But make no mistake about it. If you find yourself caught up in this system we call the correctional facility system, the correctional system, it is no more different than the sex trade industry. We're just trading humans for a different reason. Okay? That's my stance on it. That's my belief on it. Do we need jails? Absolutely. Do we need to put convicted killers behind jail? Absolutely. Do we need to slaughter some of them? Absolutely. That, my friends, is not the system we are running. That is not the system that we have in the U.S. That is not the system that we've created in this Western society that trades money to put people in boxes, mostly black men. Mostly black men. Unfortunately, Teller County is pretty white. There was probably 3 black people in that cell of about 15, 30 people, anywhere between 30 people. I think there was about 30 people in that holding unit, maybe more, maybe a little more, but I think 30. Real white jail, Teller County Jail is. That's just a sign of the culture of the area. Meanwhile, Patrick's going to a visit. I'm trying to freaking make phone calls. Where the hell is everybody? Why isn't anyone answering Dad's phone call? Now, I got to believe that I had this in my mind. Either my wife has given up on me, or 2, my wife has handled it and she don't want to pay for a collect call. That's what I went with. Honey, we've been married 15 years. I don't know what the hell is going on out there. I don't know why. It's 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm still in jail. I don't know why. I got one thought that says you've abandoned me. The other thought says, damn it, you handled it and you don't want to pay for the collect call. My dad didn't want to pay for a collect call. So now I got 2 people not paying for collect calls. Fuck. Why the hell am I still in jail? I only owe it, baby, $1,000. Make this happen. Guess what? Time is irrelevant. Everything moves at a snail's pace. Meanwhile, Bobby Brown already had it handled. The paperwork was done. It was happening. But Double Black Eye, baby, Double Black Eye had one more kicker for me. He wanted to make sure I had one more story to tell. But the funny thing is, I got more coming. Lights out at 11, 10:30. Everybody's locked down, 10:30, 11. I don't know. Time's irrelevant, remember? I think it was closer to 11, though. Because soon after lockdown happened, Daddy's not getting out of jail tonight. I don't know what the hell's going on, but this shit ain't happening. Double Black Eye gave me the story of Patrick, but what the hell am I still doing here? My mind is racing, but my body is tired. All of a sudden, I hear the click. I love the click. When you hear the click of the door, that means a couple of things. 1, you get to get out. 2, there's breakfast. 3, shit, they just opened the door. We're not on lockdown no more. But when you hear the click after dark, when you hear the click after lights out, when the click happens, 2 things are happening. 1, you're about to get the shit beat out of you, and the guards are going to allow it to happen. You heard the click, click, survival guide. Survival guide with Dad right now. If it's after dark and you hear the click of your cell door open, understand one of 2 things is about to take place. You're about to have to defend yourself to who knows what end. Or 2, it's time to rack up, boys. Roll them up. Roll them up. That door clicked. That door swung open. I was half asleep on my belly and my chest. I rolled to turn to see who was at the door, and I heard the words, "Roll them up, Dalton." Bobby came through. Exact words, quote, Teller County Sheriff's Officer. "Roll them up, Dalton." Bobby came through. I like it, Bobby Brown. I like it, Bobby Brown. In the last hour of the last day on Monday, Bobby came through, but Daddy still got a story to tell. I rolled my game up. I rolled my blankets up. Trustee's still out. This is how I know it happened very quickly after lockdown, because the trustee was still out. Remember the trustee? digging my yard, taking care of my shit. The trustee had actually given me an extra cot when I came in. The guy who had worked in my backyard, who I knew, who I've touched, he's used my restroom. He was a trustee. He had actually given me a cot because I didn't want to sleep on the top bunk. He said, man, I got an extra cot in my room. Let me get that cot for you. You ain't going to be here that long. I said, yeah, cool. When I leave, I'll throw you my mattress. He says, cool. We'll tell the guard that you got the mattress for me. So he throws the mattress line out because the trustee, Michael Dalton's out. He's out. Hey, he's got my cot and my mattress. The guard says, you got his cot and his mattress? I said, yeah, it's right there. He said, okay, leave it there. You can come get it. That's a swindle, boys. Mattresses are better than soups. They're better than cash. When you sleep on a metal bed that looks like that, 2 mattresses is better than 1. That's money in the bank. That's also collateral for the next time or never. For the next time or never, buddy. If you give it back to me later, that's cool. But for the next time or never, I just gave you a mattress and you got your cot back. Now it's time to go. I'm smiling. I'm happy. My wife has come through. I say some pleasantries to my cellie. I throw him a couple of Kool-Aids. The trustee had given me a handful of Kool-Aids. Again, trustees are good people, especially ones you know. This is survival tips, by the way. If you're just joining, oh, God, you're just going to have to go back and listen because this story is almost over. But it's just getting started. I'm getting out of jail. I know this. Bobby's come through. The words of the Teller County Sheriff. Didn't get the shit beat out of me. I lived. I survived. Officers didn't kill me. I saw Patrick. I saw Psychos. I got some good stories. I learned a lot about the jailers. I got this inside scoop that Dateline don't got. Ain't nobody sitting across from Patrick in jail talking to 200 people, telling this story. What do I see as I begin to walk towards the booking? As I have already now changed back into my dad with a phone shirt. As I walk towards booking to collect my belt and my cell phone. Who's behind the booking desk? Can I get a guess 1? Can I get a guess 2? The fainting goat. My girl. As a matter of fact, that's what came out of my mouth, not fainting goat. I said, lady, it's good to see you. Michael, what are you doing back here? I said, well, had to come talk to Patrick. She got a big smile, a big laugh, and a big giggle. She gave me my belt. She made me sign some paperwork. I said, I hope to see you at court on the 24th. She said, I'll be there. I said, make sure you eat your Wheaties. That's a true story. That's what happened. This is the story of how to survive Teller County Jail. I walked out of the jail. Miss Fainting Goat, I love you. But you said my ride was waiting for me. Truth was my ride wasn't there. Because the bond went through at like 6. But I had to get all these stories. Had to get all this info. Had to stand across from Patrick and look him in the eyes and let him know Dad with the phone is watching. Had to talk to the inmates and get the story of how some think he's innocent, how some would kill him, how others, they just think it's funny. Crazy Frazee. In with the chomos. Thanks for joining. Mad love for the support. Literally, people have given money, prayers, encouragement to my wife. It's good to have a co-signer, like I said, but you guys are awesome too. You guys are pretty awesome. Oh yeah, Carol, we could talk about KK. We could talk about, is that the real armchair detectives? Oh no, that's a different armchair detective. That's not the European armchair detective, is it? Oh, yeah, the nurse got off. That's for another one. God, I would love to be in jail getting her story, looking her face to face. My average watch time on this is 28 minutes. Guys, that's pretty freaking incredible for a 2-hour show. I really got to tell you that. That's a pretty encouraging thing. Thanks for watching. That's the story of when, second time, I went to jail, but really it's DWAP Survival Guide to the Teller County Jail with Patrick Frazee. We will be at court on the 24th for the Patrick Frazee arraignment. We'll be doing some other updates. I have just shot right before I went into jail on last Wednesday. We shot some video that no one else has seen yet, not even you guys yet, that we'll be sharing with you guys with some really cool information if you're following the Kelsey Barrett case. And what is, again, I'd love to talk to you more about the charges. I'd love to talk to you more about, I told you the charge they charged me with was driving while restricted. So driving, that's all I did was not driving under the influence, not drunk driving. They literally hunted me down. They didn't pull me over for anything but because I am dad with the phone, driving while restricted. I'll tell you more about that story later because that is an interesting story that you need to know. Understanding that I have not even been able to defend myself in a court of law. I have not been able to defend these charges in a court of law, but they continue to be able to charge me with this stuff. It's not even, whether it's not unconstitutional because they do it. But yet, when you think about it, you have the right to face your accusers. You have the right to stand before a jury of your peers. You have a right to do these things. Not in Colorado. Not in Colorado. Other states, it's different. But here in Colorado, it's different. And so, yeah, they could put me in jail. The charges that I've been charged with, they could actually put me in jail up to 30 days. That's a scary thought. But it doesn't scare me, right? So you're going to walk this with me. Screw it. We'll tell you. You can listen to all the haters. I'm sure there'll be some spoof videos out there. I'm sure people will call me a liar and a fraud and a con man and all these things. All of which could probably be true about me at some point in my life. You know, I heard something. I heard an interview with Slim Shady. And I didn't never know this about Eminem. But Eminem, Marshall Mathers, and Slim Shady in that genre are three different people. And Slim Shady was created by Marshall Mathers so that he could say things and say, oh, that's my shady side, right? And then he says, we all have a shady side, right? And I thought about that and I thought, damn, from one of the best rappers in the world, that is very true. We all have a shady side, and I have told y'all more than once, I am more wicked than most. And so whether or not I've been put in jail for legal reasons, whether or not I've been put in jail for justifiable reasons, it is simply the system we work in. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I have a blessed life? I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I would not take back a moment except I would listen more. I would listen more. I wouldn't listen to you. I wouldn't listen to the negativity. I wouldn't listen to the trolls. But I have missed some voices that have spoke to me, and they've cost me. And so I would say listen more if you learn anything from a night in the county jail with Patrick Frazee. If you find yourself in those boxes, whether it's in your own county or whether it's in Teller County, if you find yourself in the county jail, remember this conversation. Maybe it'll help you. Maybe it won't. Maybe you'll never find yourself inside those jail walls. But understand this, behind those walls, 90% of the people are just like you and me. 90%. Both the convicts and the guards. But they are both prisoners inside those walls. They are both prisoners. But overall, the convicts are just people. They're being traded. They've made decisions against society. Yes, no doubt. No doubt. Some are just kids. Some are lifelonger psychos. They need to be there. No doubt. But they are all just people. Both convict and guard. But they are both prisoners. Hey, thanks for watching. This is Dad's Survival Guide to Survive in Jail with Patrick Frazee.